Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be speaking in an in-person event again. This is my second in-person event this year. So yeah, hopefully it will be fun. My work, my research that I do at Trend Micro, I'm presenting to you today. But, you know, general disclaimer, I'm speaking by myself, not my employer. So let's get started. Just a little bit about myself. I practice martial arts for almost 20 years now, on and off. Going back to Japan this year to continue training, practice a martial art called ninjutsu. Don't know if you heard about it. As my friend mentioned, I'm originally from Brazil, but I've been in Canada for almost 5 years now, living there. So it was nice change of weather there, coming from the cold and snow. And okay, yeah, it's cloudy, but it's not that cold, so it's good. I've been involved with OWASP for 12 years. So I led one of the longest running chapters in Brazil. For 5 years, we were one of the most active ones. I organized the OWASP Paraíba Day in 2012 and also created the Jump AppSec Security Conference in 2015 in Brazil. I have a blog and kind of my personal brand there with Katana Security. The blog is shut down right now. I'm moving to another place server, but yeah, it's katanasec.com, and you can see all my kind of blogs and presentations and previous talks there, slides or videos. It's all gonna be there very soon, including these slides. I'm gonna share there as well. But if you wanna follow me, if you wanna find out more about me, just look at Magno Logan on Twitter, Mastodon, and LinkedIn. That's kind of where I am. I'm also part of the Nebula team inside Trend Micro. So I'm part of Trend Micro Canada and a security researcher. And so inside Trend Micro, we have different researcher teams. And our team, the Nebula team, that's how we call ourselves, kind of an internal team name. Basically, we focus on cloud and container security research. So we've done research around DevOps and Jenkins, for example, in the past. We've published some CVEs, some 0 days. We've done research on Docker and Redshift, and also, you know, the major cloud providers, AWS, Azure, GCP. We have a great research being published very soon about Azure machine learning. So you want to find out about that. A friend of mine that has done it. It's incredible, but we're still waiting for Microsoft to fix some of the bugs. So yeah, stay tuned. And also a part of Go Hacking. Go Hacking is a company back in Brazil. We provide technical training in cybersecurity, hacking, pen testing, DevSecOps, secure coding, and malware analysis, all kinds of things, very technical. Most of the courses are online, and they are in Portuguese. But I know there are a lot of Brazilians here. I only listen to Portuguese when I arrive. Said, okay, maybe I'm back in Brazil. I don't know. But we're launching some of the courses in English this year and a few of them next year soon. So yeah, just stay tuned for that. So before we start, I just want to do a quick game with everyone here. Simple game. Ireland or Brazil? You tell me. Ireland or Brazil? Ireland, right? Okay, good. Yeah, let's come on. You had your coffee already, right? You guys awake? Simple one, Brazil. Good. What about this one? Maybe both. If you add whiskey, right? I just got the whiskey there, Irish coffee. Brazil? Ireland? Okay, maybe both as well. That can be debatable. If it's black, if it's Guinness, then yeah. Right. What? Cold, yeah. Okay. Loud. People are loud. People are talking. Brazil. Okay, good. And traffic? Both. I saw both. At least that's my impression from here. I don't know. From, you know, I'm around the downtown. That's fine. But yeah, just one more thing. Fun fact, and I did double check that this morning. The population of the whole country of Ireland is less than the city of Rio de Janeiro. So just that red part over there has more people than the whole country of Ireland. Okay, so let's start. This is my training, the secure coding and DevSecOps training. I'm not gonna talk about that much, but if you wanna scan the QR code or get the link, you can find, read the description, see what I teach, and kind of find out more. We're probably launching a new cohort, a new session, the second half of this year. I'm currently working on a new course that's about Docker and Kubernetes security. So that should come on the first semester of this year. Okay, there has been a lot of layoffs lately. You're probably aware of that, and hopefully you're not one of the affected ones. But as I'm involved with OWASP since the beginning, I've been, the community has given so much to me, and I learned so much with OWASP that I always like to give back. And one of the ways that I do it is presenting and giving talks, sharing knowledge. And the other way is helping people and helping in a way that, what can I do? Like, okay, there's a lot of layoffs, people are looking for jobs and stuff. So what I do is for any IT person, any background, doesn't need to be security. If you want, if you're interested, if you're looking for a job, if you're affected by the layoffs, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn and I can do 3 things for you. I can review your resume and provide my feedback for free. I can review your LinkedIn page and provide some feedback there as well. See, maybe you're not finding the right jobs. And I can also do a mock interview. So I'm the one kind of hiring you, and I interview like a technical interview, and of course in English, and then we practice, right? Of course, everything here is for free. It just needs to adjust to my schedule, and sometimes it can take a couple weeks for me to be able to have a spot for you. But if you want to learn more, if you want to find out, yeah, this is for free. We just published our blog on GitHub Codespaces. This talk is not about Codespaces, it's about GitHub Actions. But we just published the research that I did with a colleague of mine, Nitesh, from our team, the Nebula team. And it's interesting as well. And we're presenting this research together with the GitHub Actions one in May at NDC Oslo. So Oslo, Norway, we're going to be there. Okay, this is the agenda, finally. I know you guys are waiting for that. So this is what we're going to talk about today. We have a quick overview about GitHub Actions. Who here has used GitHub Actions before? Raise your hand. Okay, good. Awesome. That's nice. So yeah, I'm going to do a quick overview, at least just to kind of lay off the land so that we can go to the security part. I'm going to talk about abusing runners and understanding what runners are and how attackers are abusing that to mostly mine cryptocurrencies. That's going to be fun. I'm going to talk about malicious actions, which was kind of the main part of my research. We have like the marketplace and what happens if someone publishes a malicious actions and another person uses, right? Unintentionally or intentionally. Then I'm going to talk about a few attacks, some other things that are happening there around GitHub Actions that you need to be aware of, and of course, some countermeasures. Sounds good? Feel free to ask questions anytime. We're going to have time at the end, but if you need to interrupt, if it's something quick, I can do it, no problem. Okay, here you're raising your hand? No problem. It's similar. It's very similar. Yeah. This testing has been only on GitHub Actions, but it might apply to GitLab. So GitLab deploys on GCP, and it's also a YAML file. You can have your own runners. You have self-hosted runners. So it's very similar, right? Same, but different, right? So that's what they say. And yeah, some countermeasures there. These are the 2 articles that I published around this research. So if there is something that I don't speak here, if there is no time, you can find all the information there on those 2 articles. The first one, from last year, beginning of last year, and the other one mid last year. So Oh yeah, and special thanks to Alfredo from my team and Felipe, also a security researcher from Brazil, for helping me with this work. Okay, so overview of actions. What is GitHub Actions? Who can tell me a simple, quick answers of what is GitHub Action? Anyone? Runtime for CI, CI/CD pipeline. It's a better Jenkins 2.0. I don't know, maybe. Debatable there. But yeah, it's the kind of the service provided by GitHub for you to run automations, right? For you to create your own pipelines, and you can build your applications, you can run testing, you can scan your binaries, scan your code, for example. There's a lot of things that you can do there, and you can do it in two ways. You can leverage the servers provided by GitHub themselves, which are actually in Azure, right? GitHub is owned by Microsoft now. So you can run their own servers. You can run your automation there, and you don't pay for anything. Of course, there are limits, but we'll get to that later. Or you can have your self-hosted runners, where you have your servers on any place, any cloud provider, anywhere, and you run your automation there, right? And it's very simple. It's just YAML files. And lately, who hasn't been using YAML files, right? If you played with Kubernetes, if you played with infrastructure as code, you probably played with some YAML files, and GitHub Actions is the same. So it's very simple to read the files, and you can configure them, in a way that you can run your automations very easily. The files have to stay inside a folder inside your repository on GitHub. The repository is called .github/workflows. Remember that. It's not workflow, it's workflows, even if you have just one. I made that mistake myself, and I spent like at least 2 hours figuring out why it wasn't running. So that's why I want to point that out. When you have those files inside your repository, like something needs to happen for them to start your automation. And this something is called an event. An event, it's something that happens to your repo. It can be a pull request, a push, any changes to your repository, or you can also run that manually. Like you can start that manually on demand. So there's different events. You can check out the GitHub documentation there, the GitHub Actions documentation. There are many different events. We're going to see a few of them today here, but I'm not going to be able to cover every single one. And the runners provided by GitHub for free are the three major operating systems. So you have Linux, which is the Ubuntu one. You have Windows, and you even have a Mac OS. So for people who struggle sometimes testing on Mac OS, now you have that for free. It's more expensive in kind of the limits sense, but you can have it. And any GitHub account can use it today. So even if you have a free account, you don't want to pay, you can start using GitHub Actions today. As I said, there are some limits, but you can do it, right? Just don't run crypto mining, please. So let's see if I can get this. Okay, yeah. So you have an event, something happens, right? Let's say a pull request. Someone submits a pull request, or someone makes a changes to your repository. That event triggers the workflow, triggers an action, right? And the action is going to deploy, in this case here, two runners, runner 1 and runner 2. And when I say runner, think of VMs, servers, right? It's the machine that's deployed on Azure or on your own environment that's going to do some automation for you. Runner 1, runner 2. Okay, runner 1 is going to run job 1. And job 1 is a series of actions. It can be, when I say actions, it can be not GitHub Actions, but a series of commands or other actions. So for example, I can run a script, like a shell script or a PowerShell script if it's Windows, or I can run other actions. So inside my action, I can call a third-party action from someone else and run that inside mine. You see a problem here already? Okay. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. And then, for example, here, in a way, I have another VM, runner2, which is running job2, and it has actions and scripts and everything. The way that they're connected here, it means something, and we're gonna see that later. Like, okay, runner1, actually, runner2 needs runner1 to finish before it can start running. So there is some dependency here between those jobs, right, or actions. Okay. You probably, if you use Jenkins before, you use Jenkins plugins, right? And you remember how hard it is to deal with plugins. Not just Jenkins, but WordPress, anything. You have to keep them updated. They have a lot of vulnerabilities. They are created by third party. There is no kind of checking for security for if the code is well developed, right? If there is no kind of vetting process for that. Marketplace is the same thing. So you have a marketplace, a GitHub Actions marketplace, where anyone here today, you can go to GitHub and you can publish a GitHub action to the marketplace for free. And depending on what you do with your action, if someone, finds that out, okay, that action is interesting, and they start calling in their own actions, right? There is a dependency there. If your action is doing something legitimate, that's great. But what happens if your action is not, right? You can do different things with your actions. As I said, testing, right? So for security purposes, we're in security event, we're talking about OWASP. You can run DAST, you can run SAS, you can run SCA, anything that you can automate there that you used to run on your Jenkins. Forget Jenkins, maybe go to GitHub Actions, and I'm gonna talk about that later. But like, there are some problems, but it's much better and much easier than Jenkins. Container security as well, so you can scan your images before, like once you build the binary, the container image, before you upload to a registry, you can scan it, right? There are free and open source tools that you can do that. And you have integrations with APIs as well, so there's many other things. So if you wanna check out the marketplace, there are 17,000 third-party actions already available. So 17,000 plugins, right? And this increased 2,000 from last month. So last month was 15,000. When I presented at NDC Security in Oslo last month, it was 15,000. So it's growing really fast. Yeah, actions. So if you go to the marketplace and you select there the filter, there is apps and actions. If you select actions, you're going to see that number probably has increased already. I got this number today, this morning, because I have to keep updating this slide every time I present because it's changing a lot. Okay. So before we move on to the fun part, let's take a look at one action here. I bring one as just an example, and I brought the nuclei or nuclei scan. Who has used nuclei before? Okay, good. It's a DAS scan. Really nice. I know people in the back might not be able to see it, but I'll try to read it for you. So here, a name, pretty simple. Name of the action that you have. You can put any name there. Not any name, but almost everything. And then there is this directive here, this kind of on. What does that mean? That means the events that will trigger your action, right? So when are your events are going to run on? Here we have two types of events that will trigger this action, the nuclei scan. You have the schedule one, so you can even have your action running periodically, right? You can use the same approach that you do for a cron tab, you can use it here, same thing. And if you struggle with cron tab like me, there are websites that can generate that for you, so that's fine. And you also have workflow dispatch. Workflow dispatch just means run on demand. I can trigger this job. I can click on a button. The developer can go into the repo and run that on demand. That's it. Jobs. And you can see here that the word is plural, but if you look at the YAML file, I only have one job, which is the nuclei scan. So technically, I'm going to only have one VM, one runner for this whole action. But there are many steps, right? There are different steps here. And before I go into the steps, you see runs on Ubuntu latest. What does that mean? It means that it's using the latest version of Ubuntu provided by GitHub on Azure. So I think the latest one, it might be 20.20.04. Yeah, or something, yeah. But you can check. There is the documentation available for you. You can see what's installed inside those VMs as well, like what comes with that and what are the risks for using those VMs. You're trusting all that code that's inside those VMs for running your actions as well. So just be aware of that. Yeah, there is Ubuntu latest, Windows latest, and macOS latest. That's kind of the latest version. Just like what you do for your containers, which you shouldn't do using the latest tag, but here, I guess it's recommended. And the first step here, actions, uses actions/checkout at v2. What does that mean? Anyone? Let's see if you really know actions. Yeah. So there is a repo called inside github.com/action. Oops, sorry, press the wrong button. /actions/checkout. So if you go to this URL, github.com/actions/checkout, you're going to see the code of this third-party action. This one is provided by GitHub, which technically is safe, but yeah, I'm using the version 2 of this action. And we're going to talk about this versioning later as well. So the first step in my action, I'm already calling a third-party action. And there is a dependency here, right? So I'm calling v2. What happens if they update the version? What happens if there is a problem or a vulnerability or something and they update it? You see a pattern here. The same thing that happens to your libraries, right? Your dependencies, everything is going to happen here for your actions. You're going to keep monitoring those third-party actions that you're using and keep updating those if you have to, if there are some issues with them. And the second step, so in any kind of these blocks here, each one of is one step. The second step is calling another third-party action where you have the nuclei scan. I can give it a name, and it's using another one. Now, from project discovery /nuclei-action at main. So if you go to github.com/project discovery /nuclei-action, you're going to see the code that's being downloaded inside your runner and being run there, right? And the main one is the kind of the main branch, right? That's it. And there is some parameter here with, so I'm specifying a parameter, example.com, right? Example.com, this is my target, right? This is the website that I want nuclei to scan, right? Probably is going to be my developer or my QA environment, right? Or production if you're brave enough. And then there is some other actions, similar approach, always using third-party actions here with workflow artifacts and the serif results. What does that mean? The problem is, and I didn't say that earlier, when my action finishes, when my workflow completes, the VM gets destroyed. I don't have access to that VM anymore, right? So if I want anything that was generated during my pipeline, during the workflow there, I need to upload somewhere. And the way that I do it is I upload back to my repo using either one of these actions or something else, right? The first one here, the workflow artifact, uploads the logs. So if something happened with nuclei, it wasn't able to reach the the target or something happened, I need to debug, I'm not going to be able to access the logs if I don't upload it, right? And the second one is the output that was generated from Nuclei as well in the results, what it found on the .serif extension, which is a common extension created by Microsoft. And now, since GitHub is owned by Microsoft, they're using as well. Same thing. Yeah, basically. Okay. Are we all on the same page here on how actions work, a few steps, and okay, awesome. And you can check out the action there on the GitHub marketplace as well. So feel free. So yeah, this is just a description of what I just said. I'll share the slides later, so I don't need to spend much time there. Okay, let's start with the fun part. Vulnerabilities. When I started doing this research back in October 2021, actually, there were some blogs, a few blogs already, most of them from the GitHub Security Lab, on some of the issues and vulnerabilities around actions, around this topic, right? One of them are called pull requests from forked repos, and something that we're going to see that was happening right in the beginning. Actions is something they're fairly new service. It started in 2019, so just a couple of years now. And there's a topic on command injection. Some of the fields, and this is basic for everyone here, right? AppSec, you should validate all your inputs, right? Some of the fields on your actions, it can be untrusted, right? You can specify, you can manipulate, you can do injection and command injection, for example. For whatever it's running inside that runner, if I specify a command in one of the fields there and it reads from there, it's going to run it, right? It's going to execute that command. So yeah, always validate your inputs. And of course, malicious GitHub actions from the marketplace. Since we're on the topic of supply chain attacks, it seems everybody's talking about it. When I started doing this research, I thought to myself, okay, what happens if someone uploads a malicious action to the marketplace and another developer starts using it? Oh, this is nice, right? I'll start using this interesting action that does nothing. Apparently, I don't know. Of course, I didn't do that. I didn't publish to the marketplace for ethical reasons, but I did some testing and I validated that, and as we're going to see. So this was kind of the main part of the research. Pull requests from forked repos, and there is the blog there from the GitHub Security Lab team. What was happening here, and this is kind of solved by now, hopefully. What happens is if you have your repo and you have actions running on your repo, you're already using GitHub Actions. When I forked your repo and I made some changes, right? I want to make some changes, I forked there, and then I send the pull request back to the original, to the source. When I sent the pull request back there, I was able to manipulate, to change your actions to my own. So because I had write permissions to your own repo, I was able to manipulate your actions. So instead of running your automation there, it was running what? What do you guys see here? Can you see the code? XMRig. Does that ring a bell? Crypto mining. So attackers automated this. They started forking hundreds of repos that were using actions and automating the pull requests back to the source. And what was happening was the legitimate user was being affected, deploying a malicious instance on Azure and mining cryptocurrencies. And when GitHub and Microsoft noticed that, they said, oh, why are you doing that? We're going to block your user. We're going to block your repo. And people started, what happened? I didn't do anything. Like, I'm innocent, right? That's when they started looking and digging deeper into the problem and finding out that they weren't the culprit. The culprit was the person providing and sending the forked pull request back to the source. That was interesting. So there is a countermeasure there at the end that I'm going to talk about that fixes this, and it's enabled by default and avoids that from happening. I haven't seen that again in a while. So yeah. Okay, abusing Windows runners. We talked about third-party actions already, right? You can see here, and this is a code from a YAML code from an action, a malicious one. And look at line 18. Yeah, 18. This is a malicious action, right? Just to be clear about that. But it's using this third-party action here on the line 18. Nick-envision/retry at v2. Is Nick here? Nick, please raise your hand. No? Okay. So I investigated this action, and it's a legitimate action. It has legitimate purposes. But the attackers are already leveraging that for their malicious gains. So they know that, they know better than us that write applications, they know how to leverage that. Why they're doing that? This retry action, it retries your action if it fails, right? There's some parameters there. So if something happens, they're not able to deploy their crypto miner, it's gonna try again and try again, right? So, like, this is interesting. This is amazing. Like, they're already using those third-party actions for their own gains, for malicious purposes. And of course, the last command here we see the node.exe, okay, xmrig, and then if you're a crypto miner fan or something, you probably know what that is, right? There's the pool and then the user of that pool. This is mining cryptocurrency on a Windows deployed on Azure by GitHub Action. Oh, is there a limit? Yes, there is a limit. Each job can run only for 6 hours, if I'm not, no. Each step can run for 6 hours, up to 6 hours, and each job can run up to 72 hours. So the VM is gonna stay on running for 3 days, mining cryptocurrencies for free. They're not paying anything out of it. So even if it's just 3 days, they're gonna get some cents. I don't know if it's profitable today, right? With the prices going down, but well, it's free money. So yeah, leveraging the third-party GitHub action there. I analyzed this one and analyzed the code from Nick, the retry one, the one that I mentioned in line 18. And it's legitimate. It has legitimate purposes, but it's being abused already. And of course, the node.exe file, right? If you check it out on VirusTotal, it's malicious. It's a crypto miner, xmrig, fine. And sometimes they don't even try to hide it, right? They're not trying to be stealthy about it. A few of them are. A few of them we're going to see are even limiting the CPU resources that their crypto miner is going to use to avoid detection. Some of them are okay. Yeah, only use up to 70% CPU because, you know, if you're running the crypto miner, it's gonna want everything. It's probably gonna go to 100%, you know, making it easier to detect from GitHub and Microsoft. Windows Runners Part 2, this one wrote a PowerShell. Now it's using a PowerShell script to automate his mining. And I didn't explain there on the previous script, but do you know what that is? Matrix. Who knows what that means? What is it doing here in the matrix? Anyone? Running multiple versions, right? You use Matrix. If you want to test your software on different versions, different operating systems, different platforms, you can do that. You can use Matrix. But they're doing that to scale, to run in parallel, multiple jobs, multiple runners at the same time, right? If I can run 100 or whatever limit there is, why not? Why I'm going to run only one? If I can make 100 times more money. And then there is the PowerShell script. I'm not very good at PowerShell, but I know that this is kind of a curl request, downloading the zip crypto miner, XMRig, extracting. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward there, and then running, right? Running here. So yeah, I don't recall which one, which example I had, but there was one that was like, okay, on the command here for the XMRig, there was the parameter to limit the CPU resources to 70%. So that's, yeah. But yeah, same thing. And interesting enough, this code, Captain Crypto, right? I found it the same code on these repos and 100 more, plus 100 more. Same things, exactly same code. Of course, sometimes maybe changing the username for the crypto mining wallet, and sometimes not even that. So maybe it's a group, it's I don't know, actor, something that is doing that. Most of these repos we reported to GitHub. Actually, we reported all of the repos to GitHub for them to take down. They took more than 6 months to reply back to us. We try to go through the proper channels. I try to talk to them and everything. I don't know if there is anyone from GitHub here, but we need to chat. But some of them are still up. So some of them, if you just go to the repo, you can still find the code there. I don't know why, but well, we reported. So now Linux, same approach, just changes the code. Instead of Windows, Linux. Oh, downloading the XMRig, extracting it, running some commands. I don't know why. pwd ls. Okay, and look at the name of the job there. The job, the step. Let's mine. Right? They're not trying to be stealthy about it. They I don't know. They think they're not getting caught. But yeah, they're running the crypto miner and running it again. I don't know why they're doing that. So they have two processes or whatever. But yeah, it's the same command. So XMRig, and XMRig is Monero crypto mining coin most of the time. But yeah. Now, this is new. This is the first time you're seeing this. Abusing macOS runners. I started looking at that like end of last year. I went back to my research and kind of, okay, maybe there's something else here. Let me see if there's anything new. What's happening there? Because yeah, I did that in, as I said, in late 2021, and we published the article and everything. So I went digging. And I found this repo here. Yeah, if you can copy it, it's fine. It's still there. But it says, I don't know, there is some stuff in Chinese, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Hackintosh, core book, something. It seemed legitimate. It really seemed legit, at least from my perspective. And there's this language here, ASL, everything okay. I checked, I saw there was the GitHub workflows folder. Okay, let me look at the workflows. That makes it easier to read. Oh yeah, name, workflow CI. Okay, yeah, continuous integration. That makes sense. On push, branch main, and on pull request, branch main. Okay, yeah, that's kind of a standard. Workflow dispatch, you can run on demand. And then there's jobs, build. Yeah, technically you name build when you want to build your binary, your application, right? And it runs on macOS latest. That's why I call it macOS runner, right? It's using the macOS version VM from Azure. Actions, checkout. Now it's version 3. So it's using the latest version. I think it's the latest one, which is good, right? Downloading the checkout action basically downloads the code from that repo inside the VM that's running your automation, right? Inside your action, your runner, right? And now it starts to get interesting. Okay. What is that? Just giving execute permissions to the binary, the XMRig, and the XMRig no fee. It didn't download it. You see that the previous ones, they downloaded the binary. This one, it didn't. Where is it coming from? From the repo. Yeah, it's already there. It's inside the repo. And starts running multiple times. There's more there. I don't know why, but yeah, I think they're trying to scale. And yeah, basically, It's a crypto miner for Mac OS. And when I ran that the first time, see November 21 of November last year, it only had 23 detections, so less than half. I think now it's exactly half detections on the VirusTotal. Still way to go. But yeah, it's a matcho file, so you can see there is a binary from a Mac OS, which is mining cryptocurrencies on a Mac OS runner. And funny enough, when you go to the Actions tab of that repo, you're going to see this kind of warning. This GitHub Actions is currently disabled. I wonder what that is. Every time that GitHub flags a kind of abuse or mostly crypto mining, they block your repo from running the actions, from deploying the VMs on Azure and run your automation. So every time you see that warning there, be aware of that repo, right? Okay, sounds good. Yeah, and so blockade GitHub Actions, and just make sure that, yeah, if you see that, they probably blocked. But what happens is they're blocking that action from that repo. That's it. If I create another repo, I can still run actions. If I create another user and then create another repo, I can still run actions. So the attackers are not just manually doing that, right? They're automating, they're scripting, they're using APIs. So that's easy, like bypassable for them. Oh, sorry? Good question. I haven't tried. Yeah, should work. Yeah. We also publish an article there about more cloud-based crypto mining, not just GitHub Actions, from the other threat research team from Trend Micro. Sorry, I'm running out of time, so just being conscious of the time here. And you can see there are more details, not just GitHub Actions, but other free services in the cloud that attackers are abusing to mine cryptocurrencies. And that's what we're seeing most of the time. Kubernetes, Docker, we deploy Docker honeypots, we deploy Kubernetes honeypots. And most of the time when they compromise these honeypots, it's mostly like 99% mine cryptocurrencies. That's it. The command injections part, I said before, this is the list of fields that are untrusted and that you can do some command injection. I won't talk much about that because I won't have time. There was before, not anymore, there was the web server enabled by default on your Ubuntu runner. There was HTTPD, Apache, there was Nginx. They were both disabled by default, but this one was enabled. Mono XSP web server. Who has heard about that? Nobody, right? This is like a very, very old web server from Microsoft written in ASP, and now this is C#. And you can see on Shodan that there aren't a lot of instances of that. You know what it is? What it is? Yeah. Well, the web server, the mono one? Yeah. But why was it running there, and why was it enabled by default? That's the question, right? Yeah. I think that's kind of my assumption there, and I describe in more details in my blog. I think there was something for administration purposes from Azure, from the Microsoft team to deal with the VM, get some heartbeats or health purposes. That's what I'm assuming. But you can see here that it was active on port 8084, and that's not anymore. Like the latest versions, if you check the latest version of your Ubuntu instance provided by GitHub, it's not there anymore. They removed it. Either they removed the documentation or they removed they really removed the server. I haven't tested that yet. But that was funny. I actually downloaded the code for this repo and I said, okay, maybe there is a vulnerability in that repo, in that web server that I can exploit. I tried, and this is just an example here that the repos, the web server is there. And yeah, some errors. I tried running semgrep. I know that semgrep is here in the event today. I tried running semgrep rules for C# to find some vulnerability in the code. Didn't work. Maybe some of the semgrep team can help me. We'll see. and see if. But now that's not enabled anymore. Maybe it's not worth it. We'll see. Okay, last part, and I'm almost done. And I will have time for questions, and we can also ask questions at the end. I'll be here at the event today and tomorrow, so we can do that. I talked about malicious GitHub actions. Make sure that, as I said, there is no vetting process for the actions that are published on the marketplace. But there is only one thing. There is like the blue check mark, like Twitter has it. No, I know I shouldn't be talking about Twitter anymore, but okay. But yeah, you can see that creator verified by GitHub. What does that mean? It means that it was verified by GitHub, but it doesn't mean that it was checked for security. It doesn't mean that it was checked for vulnerabilities, right? It just means that technically GitHub knows this company or this person. But better than nothing. At least try to look for that. If it doesn't have it, just be more suspicious about your third-party actions. And as I said as well, you can check if you want to read the code of your third-party actions. You can take a look at the GitHub of the repository of that action, right? So if you go to github.com/ the name of the user, this is the user or organization, and the name of the repo, the action itself, and you can take a look at the code there. Might be JavaScript or something. I said, like, the attack part, that's what I did during my research. I was able to run Nmap inside the Azure, inside the VM, right? The machine that I had control of and running, seeing if there are other targets, if I could move laterally. We'll see the results. I was able to do the reverse shell on the runner from external server. So if we saw the way that I was showing the actions here, basically every time I wanted to run my automation, I would have to change the file, the YAML file, and then publish or run on demand, right? That was taking a lot of time, and it can be very troublesome. So what I did was I deployed one action, one runner, and I made it to connect back to another machine outside of Azure. I actually in AWS, just for fun. And now I have a reverse shell, and I'm able to run the commands interactively and get the results. So I don't need to, change it, everything. It takes a lot of time. So I can do my research faster. So that was something interesting. And I can also use the runner, the VM machine for my actions. I can also use to attack other servers inside Azure and outside Azure as well. So it has connection to outside the world because it needs to download stuff. We saw they're downloading the crypto miners, and I can do that as well. So instead of running VPNs or Tor, I can just blame on Microsoft. I can blame on Azure, right? Okay. So yeah, this is the results from the Nmap scans. The ports that are open by default, and this was a bit outdated now. I'm not sure if that's still the same. It's still the case, but yeah, port 22, 80, 443, 3389, that's okay, standard. But then the 8084, the mono XSP that we talked about. This is me doing the reverse shell from the runner. Basically, it has a netcat on the Linux one, but the netcat doesn't have the -e, and there are other ways to do that, but I have basically downloaded netcat from scratch and compiled and did the backdoor, the connect back, the reverse shell to my instance there. And you can see there that when I have the reverse shell, the Linux one at the bottom there, Azure, shows Azure. Yeah, since I can do reverse shells from the runners to my servers, I can also issue malicious commands and scanning other targets, even outside of Azure, as I said. This is the interesting part, and I'm almost done. I said if someone published a malicious action to the marketplace and another person used it, what would happen? So I did that. I created a separate repo, and I created that malicious action in that repo. And in another repo, I call that action. So this is the malicious action that I wrote. Very simple. They call it composite action. And I grabbed the example from the GitHub itself. So you see, hello world, greet someone. I didn't want to change it, but it's fine. And then the step is run this backdoor.sh. right? So I'm making it really clear that this is malicious, so people don't use it. And even on the name of the repo, I say fake GHH, right? GitHub action. And yeah, shell bash. Basically, what it's doing is the same thing as the previous one, right? But now from another action, from a third-party one. So separately. I'm not calling that directly. I have the code inside a shell script, and I'm calling that action from another repo. So if you look here, here is me calling that fake GHA, right? This is a separate repo. Ubuntu latest, fake GHA, third-party action, Magno Logan, fake GHA. Still there, the repo, you can take a look. So now I also got the connect back. So what happens if I try to make this action legitimate? If I publish that to the marketplace, and now every time everyone uses my action, they're connected back to my C2 server, to my command and control server. And I would be able to run interactive commands, get their tokens, and, you know, have fun, right? Of course, I didn't do that yet, but we'll see. But yeah, you can see that it works. Okay, so just to wrap up, some countermeasures. I know it might not be the best advice, but just be aware of it. Only use actions from trusted creators, the one with the blue check mark. Yes, you can still use the other ones, but just be more careful with that. If they don't have the trusted, verified by GitHub, you probably should look at the code. Maybe scan the code if it's JavaScript or a language that you have a SAS scan to do it. That should be better. Make sure that you set the right permissions to your actions. So I didn't talk about that, but there is a token that's inside your VM, the GitHub token by default. And up until, I think, a few weeks ago, that token had read and write permissions to your repo. And that's why the forked repos attack worked. Now, they only have read-only, right? The GitHub changed that by default, so that's better. Do not run actions from forked repos. Review them first. There is an option to protect that. And of course, protect your secrets, right? If you're using environment variables, if you're storing sensitive information there, if they have access to your runner, they're going to have access to that environment, to those environment variables. So yeah, this is the options there to protect your actions permissions, saying that if you're not using any action in your repo, just go ahead and disable it. Like, don't allow anyone to run actions there. And this one is the one that from the outside collaborators, right? The forked repos that people were causing the problem there with forking multiple repos. This is enabled by default now, if I'm not mistaken. And then it requires approval for the first time contributor, right? So if it's the first time that you're contributing back to that repo, that open source project, for example, then you're gonna require approval to run your actions. Great. I think we have about a few minutes for questions, maybe? Okay, yeah, that's it, everyone. Thank you.
I'm really sorry because I have to finish this really nice talk. And some of the audience have some question about the speaker, please. We have a minute for one or two questions, no more than this. Please go ahead.
Sure, hi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you looked at self-hosted runners?
No, I haven't. Maybe a topic for next research. And I also want to look at GitLab as well. This is kind of, I want to look at, it's hard to decide, but there is GitLab that's on my radar. There is self-hosted runners. Someone mentioned that and asked this question when I presented this back in Brazil last year. And there is Azure DevOps, right? Because GitHub Actions is based on Azure DevOps, right? And Microsoft has stated that, sorry, I'm speaking outside of, Microsoft has stated that they're investing more on GitHub Actions than Azure DevOps, much more, like 10 times more. They're still maintaining Azure DevOps, but first they're trying to keep, get GitHub Actions up to the same level that enterprises, large enterprises use, and then they're gonna keep focusing on GitHub Actions. So I'm not sure if it's relevant, but GitLab is on my radar and self-hosted runners as well. I think there is some research. Someone published something, maybe a blog or something around self-hosted runners. If you want, I can try to find that out for you. Okay. Yeah.
We have another question. Thank you very much for to be with us. Please stay here. The next talk would be about a one-time password, and don't move because if you move, I don't have coffee. And please stay away with me because I need coffee. Okay. See you guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.